Towards the end of 2022, I made the scariest decision of my life. I quit my six-figure pharmacy job to focus full-time on YouTube. And what happened next completely changed everything. And I'm going to show you the exact numbers, because if you're sitting there right now wondering if you should take the leap, this video might just save you years of regret. But first, let's talk about the setup and my double life. Let me paint you a picture. I'm a pharmacist making over $100,000 a year. I spent 6 years in school to get my doctorate degree, and I got my dream job. And at this point, it should be happily ever after, right? Except I was miserable. See, I've been watching YouTube religiously my entire life, and I knew this platform inside and out. So sometime around 2019, I said, screw it, and I got serious about YouTube. And within a few months, I was making a full-time income from YouTube. And within a year, I was making more from YouTube than I was from my job. In fact, over $10,000 a month just from AdSense alone. And depending on the month, I was making anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 extra from my other income sources. And what did I do? Nothing. I stayed at the job like an idiot. Why? Because I was terrified. I was terrified that the YouTube money would just disappear. And it was a terrible mistake. And this is one of the reasons why I now offer free strategy sessions where you can tell us your situation and get advice from us on what you should do when it comes to growing and making money on YouTube. And you can check that out down in the description and the pinned comment below. But first, let's talk about the struggle, why I stayed too long. So 2020 hits, COVID happens, and my pharmacy job goes from chill to absolute chaos. And everyone on my staff, including other pharmacists, are quitting left and right. So we're constantly understaffed. And I'm working my butt off during the day. Then I'm coming home and trying to make YouTube videos at night. And this is why I was stuck making somewhere between 10 to 30K per month from YouTube for almost 2 years. And I didn't know the reason why at the time, but it turned out that I was spread too thin. I was playing it way too safe, and it was keeping me broke. Well, not broke, but you know what I mean. After all, I did have $300,000 in student loan debt. So even though I was sometimes making $30,000 a month, after taxes, it would still take me several years to pay off the debt. And that, along with fear and being risk averse, was one of the biggest reasons why I didn't quit my job. But finally, I got smart. I started working remote, and I went on a vacation with my best friend John to Puerto Rico. And that changed everything. In Puerto Rico, I met a bunch of other people that were living a digital nomad lifestyle where they were working online, and they had an incredible level of time, location, and financial independence. Now, some were working a job, some were doing side hustles, some were doing freelancing, and some had their own businesses. But either way, we went skydiving, had the time of our lives, hung out with a bunch of other remote workers, and I'm sitting there on the beach thinking, holy crap, I can never go back to a normal job after this, because the remote work gave me flexibility. And because of this, I was able to have more steady $30,000 months, but I was still stuck. Now, around this time, I read this book called The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. And when I first saw the book, I thought it was just a complete scam. I mean, I was working around 80 hours a week, sometimes over 100 hours a week, and I basically thought that in order to make more money, you have to work harder and longer. And anybody that says you should work less was just a charlatan. But this book did leave an impression on me. Now, by the way, guys, if you're curious about how I've grown this YouTube channel and how I make these videos so entertaining yet educational, I am going to be hosting a live YouTube training on Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where I basically just revealed the exact strategies that I used to grow my channel to multiple six figures per month. So that's another free training for you. So 2022 rolls around, and I'm about 28 years old, and I'm making $30,000 a month from YouTube. And I'm still clinging to this pharmacy job like it's a security blanket. But you know what finally made me quit? I realized that I was being a coward, and the safe job was actually the riskiest thing that I could do. Why? Because it was keeping me from my full potential. So I quit. Scary as hell? Absolutely. Best decision of my life? Yes. And you want to know what happened immediately after I quit? Literally within a few months, I jumped from $30,000 a month to having my first $100,000 month. Now you might be thinking, how is that even possible? Well, it's because I finally had time to turn my YouTube channel into a real business. Not just posting videos and hoping for the best, but a real business with systems, processes, and proper monetization. And I went from being an amateur to a professional. And I discovered strategies that nobody else was talking about. And I built a specific system that I call the Content Growth Engine system that got my workload down to just 4 hours a week. And this allowed me to stop working in my business so that I could focus on my business. So let me give you the real numbers. Now, before quitting, I was doing around $30,000 a month. And between my pharmacy job, my side hustles, my online remote work, and YouTube, I was doing around $30,000 a month. And I was working around 80 plus hours a week. After quitting, I got it all the way up to $100,000 a month and slowly figured out how to completely streamline my channel to the point where I only had to work 4 hours a week to maintain it. 4 hours a week. Let that sink in. I had literally accomplished exactly what Tim Ferriss had talked about in the book. And I was making more money than ever while working way less. And I went from being a stressed out pharmacist with 6 figures in student debt to making multiple 6 figures a month from YouTube. And here's the thing, I'm not some special genius. I just figured out the difference between having a YouTube channel and having a YouTube business. Because most people are just making random videos and hoping that they go viral. I built systems, I hired the right people, and I focused on what actually makes money. Not just views, but actual money. And look, I know this might sound too good to be true, but these results are 100% real. And I'm not the only one. I've helped dozens of creators make similar transformations. So if you're serious about turning your channel into a real business that can replace your income, you need to book a call with me today. Link is in the description and the pinned comment below. So let's talk about what I'd tell my past self if I had a time machine and I could go back and talk to myself in 2020. Here's what I'd say. Dude, quit the job. The biggest mistake I made was staying too long because of fear. And I was so worried about losing my security that I traded 2 years of my life for fake peace of mind. And that safe job kept me stuck around $10,000 to $30,000 a month when I could have been making over $100,000 a month much earlier. And don't get me wrong, working remote was a good bridge. It taught me that location freedom was possible, but I should have just jumped to full-time YouTube way sooner. And the plateau that I hit, that was 100% because I was splitting my focus. Because you can't build an empire working part-time on your dreams. And once you get your business off the ground, you need to jump in with both feet. Quick break. This video is sponsored by me. Most of you don't know that I actually have my own coaching program on personal branding and then growing and making money on YouTube. And this is good for complete beginners, maybe even people who just want to get a job by growing their personal brand, all the way up to people who are very advanced on YouTube. And they get to work directly with myself and my team to help them reach their goals. Now, we are opening up 3 to 5 spots, and this is pretty rare. We usually don't have these open. We usually only limit them to select people. But we're opening up 3 to 5 spots, and you can check those out down in the description and the pinned comment below. And in this program, you'll get to work directly with myself and other people who are highly successful on YouTube. Just as an example, Sean was able to go all the way from being stuck, not making very much money on his channel, to making over $500,000 a month. Now, that's an example of one of my more advanced students, but there's lots of examples of people who started off from scratch and they got to 5K a month, 10K a month, etc. So check that out down in the description and the pinned comment below. Now, one other thing I want to talk about is the truth about security. So let me tell you something. Your job isn't secure. And we've seen this over the last few years. Even the best industries, right? The technology industry, everyone thought that this was the best industry you could possibly go into. In the last few years, we saw massive amounts of layoffs. And I learned this when my dad got his legs crushed at work when I was 7 years old. And the company screwed him over in the lawsuit. And we ended up poor and even homeless multiple times after that. So job security is a myth. But you know what's actually secure? Having multiple income streams, having skills that can't be taken away from you, and building something that you control. That's security. So your current situation doesn't have to be your final destination. If a guy who was homeless as a kid, who had $300,000 in student debt, who is terrified to leave his pharmacy job, can build a 6-figure YouTube business, so can you. The only question is, are you ready to bet on yourself? And listen, I'm not saying quit your job tomorrow, but what I am saying is start building your exit strategy today, because every day you wait is another day you're not living to your full potential. And if you want to see how someone else besides me made this exact transition, check out the video about how Josh scaled from less than $1,000 a month all the way to $186,000 a month on YouTube. And I guess I'll put that up here or something like that. And his story will absolutely blow your mind. So links right on the screen. You can check it out by clicking right here.